Hello. Ah, well, fear is the biggest driver next to pain, avoiding pain, which is also a part of fear because we're fearful of pain, so we do what we can to avoid it. And we make some pretty stupid moves sometimes in doing that, in trying to achieve those goals. But, I mean, people kill people just because they might be a witness and they're afraid to go to jail. So that's fear and the pain of going to jail and all that. They're trying to avoid that. And to them, ending someone's life to avoid that is up there with worth it. So there is no boundaries. Uh, we dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan because of our fear of continuing the war and what it would cost us. And we figured they attacked us first, so we had every right to drop those bombs, uh, which I don't believe we did. I don't believe we had the right to make the bomb in the first place. But cowards made that bomb, not brave people. Cowards make bombs and drop bombs. Brave people don't drop bombs and they don't build bombs. Brave person is the bomb. That's me. So, it's just and a lot of the fear is loss. Like the loss of the war if we didn't drop the bombs. Uh, the loss of your freedom if you're looking to go to prison. Uh, loss of your job, loss of your wife, loss of your kid, loss of your car, all these things you have sold your soul for. And now, because you sold your soul and have no soul, these items are your soul. How many people define themselves by the car they drive? What label is on the car? Is it a Ferrari label? Is it a Lamborghini label? Or is it a Honda label? And if those are your labels, then you put yourself in a certain category, a box, if you will, you know. And it's ever far-reaching. What town do you live in? What do you live in Garden City or do you live in Hempstead? That same house in Garden City costs about $3 million for a house and that's cheap. Now that same house in Hempstead will cost you about maybe 500,000. So again, where you live and the fear of people not seeing you in that $3 million house. You know, if you grew up in Garden City, you don't want to live in Hempstead. So you don't want your friends to know you live in Hempstead. So it's just fear. It's all fear based, and it's done to you on purpose. It's done when you were a child. I don't know if you're old enough where you got under a desk as a drill, or you got in the hallway and had to cup your hands over your head and get on your knees and line up against the wall with all your other classmates in case of an air raid, which was never going to happen. But they was just instilling fear into you, you know, um, showing you your powerlessness. They're trying to make you realize how powerless you are because you don't control the airplanes that are dropping the bombs. And the only thing you can do is go in the hallway and cover your head or go under your desk. Which, if there was a plane dropping bombs, neither of those techniques would help one bit of damn. But that wasn't the purpose. The purpose was to make you feel powerless, so that you look to the teacher who told you to get on the desk, the teacher who told you to get in the hallway, as the one with the power and not you. You don't have the power because you didn't have the power to say, no, I'm not going to get on the desk. You didn't have the power to say, no, I'm not going in the hallway. So the teacher, the school, the government had the power, not you, which was their only purpose for doing that. Because a powerful kid, if a kid thinks they're powerful, they're dangerous to the system. They're dangerous to society because society lives off conformity. Society lives off not breaking the rules, not thinking outside the box, not being outside the box. And if you do any of those things, they might drop a bomb on you. So, it's just the powers that be have control over you because they've dictated this stuff to you since you were a child. Your TV has taught you how to behave amongst each other. Now it's YouTube. Now it's all your apps. But it never ends. And I'm on an iPad. This is a new screen. This is a new form of brainwashing. This is a new form of manipulation. Um, it's a it's a little different. I mean, because back in the day, there were really only like three channels, and whatever was on those three channels, you had to watch or not watch anything. And if you went to the news, like the newspaper or the time or news magazines or anything like that, even TV Guide was a big thing. They or Reader's Digest, those kinds of things. That was all brainwashing and indoctrinating there too. No stories that opposed power or authority was ever published in any of those publications. You know, so and that's why the internet makes it harder to do the a complete brainwash, a complete manipulation. But if you were really outside the box, they wouldn't. You probably are not seeing this video because I'm so far outside the box. They're just blocking it. But and if it became popular, they would block it. They would say, oh, I broke community standards, and I did some reason so they had authority over me to block it because they're the authority and I'm not, which is a bunch of crap because I'm the authority. They're not. You know, I mean, the U.S. Constitution wasn't written to tell me what I can do. It was written to tell the government what they could do, and it's very limiting to what they could do. You know, and it's up to interpretation, and that's why we have all the problems we have. So, and which is again fear. The Constitution was written of fear of having a monarch or having a dictatorship. You know, we had a free country. Uh, we fought for our freedom in the Declaration of Independence and our freedom from England, and we didn't want to go backwards. The Constitution was a vehicle to go forwards. Now they had to make a lot of compromises to get the Constitution signed and um, put into law because all these states had to pass it, had to sign it, and they caused horse. They were all horse traders back then, so they all said, "I want this before I sign. I want this before I sign." So even though it's a perfect document, it's not perfect. Uh, the states' rights are the way they are because of that, which is perfect in a way. And you wouldn't want one government, one federal government running everything. The states handle a lot of stuff that the federal government has no business dealing with because each state is different. You know, I mean, Texas doesn't deal with snow removal the way Alaska does. It just doesn't work that way. So, in that sense, you need separation. And the taxes in Alaska are much different than the taxes in Texas. And you know, and you know where I'm going. But oh, I don't know. Just don't let fear run your life. I don't live in fear. I can tell by I've had fear in my life. I have. I think it's totally unavoidable. Just like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, it's unavoidable. But don't let it run your life. Uh, don't hurt someone because you're afraid to go to jail. Yeah. Don't hurt someone because you're afraid to not be elected. I mean, if you're not elected, basically you weren't meant to be, and that's no one's fault but your own or the powers that be that didn't want you there. You were there to be an opposition, not to be a success. And if you realize that, then that's your role, to be the opposing force. And that's the thing with fear. We always want it to go our way.